All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're not just going to list out Muhammad Ali Jinnah's famous 14 points. No, we're going deeper. We're going to dissect the absolutely brilliant strategy behind the first 4 points. And trust me, it's a masterclass in political thinking, all built around one powerful idea: provincial power. Let's begin. So where does this whole story kick off? Well, it all starts with the 1928 Nehru Report, which was basically a proposed constitution for India. Jinnah, looking to protect Muslim interests, suggested 3 key changes, including a big one: 1/3 representation for Muslims in the central legislature. But his suggestions were shot down, flat out rejected. And that rejection, that was the trigger. It led directly to him creating his own list of demands. This wasn't just a simple reaction, it was a whole new game plan. And this right here is the core idea of our whole explainer today. You see, Jinnah understood a basic political fact. The Muslim League, as a minority party, was probably never going to win a majority at the center. So what do you do when you can't win the main game? Simple. You change the rules of the game. His entire strategy was to pull as much power as possible away from the center and put it right into the hands of the provinces. Now, the very first demand is the absolute cornerstone of this whole strategy. It's all about a concept called residuary powers. I know it sounds like some complicated legal term, but really it boils down to one simple question. Who gets to hold power over the future? Who gets to make the rules for things we haven't even thought of yet? So what exactly are residuary powers? Think about it like this. In any country with a federal system, you have lists that say what the central government is in charge of and what the provinces or states are in charge of. But what about new things that pop up? Things nobody could have predicted back then, like, say, AI regulation or data privacy. The power to make laws about all that new unlisted stuff, that is residuary power. It's literally the power to shape the future. This table gives you a pretty clear idea of how things were split up. You had the center handling big national stuff like defense and currency. The provinces took care of local things like police and public health. And then there was a concurrent list for stuff they shared, like education. But Jinnah's genius was in focusing on what wasn't on any of these lists. He was focused on that empty space, asking the crucial question, who's going to control that? And there it is, his demand, laid out plain and simple. Jinnah was adamant that these incredibly important residuary powers had to go to the provinces. And the strategy behind it? It's crystal clear. This would give the Muslim-majority provinces the ultimate control and autonomy, making sure they could govern themselves on any future issue without having to ask a Hindu-majority center for permission. Okay, so let's move on to the next 2 demands, because you can really see how he starts to build on this foundation. After securing the idea of provincial power, his next moves were all about creating and strengthening the actual places where the Muslim League could use that power. The second demand is the next logical step, isn't it? It wasn't enough just to control future laws. Jinnah demanded that provinces have maximum autonomy over the laws they already had. The goal was to transform the provinces into these powerful, self-governing units, kind of like mini-states within the larger country. The strategy was to build these high constitutional walls around the provinces to keep the center's influence out as much as possible. Now this is a classic move, a real piece of political strategy. At the time, Sindh was just a part of the huge Bombay Presidency, which had a Hindu majority. Now, the official reasons for separating it sounded pretty good. Sindh had its own unique culture, and it was, geographically really far from Bombay. But the real reason, the strategic jackpot, was that splitting off Sindh would create a brand new province with a clear Muslim majority, and that meant another potential government for the Muslim League to control. And he doesn't stop there. The 4th demand takes this strategy and expands the map even further. Jinnah then turns his focus to the Northwest Frontier Province, the NWFP, and Balochistan. His goal was to pull these regions, which had been kept on the political sidelines, right into the main game, and onto his side of the chessboard. And this just lays it all out, the stark difference. Both NWFP and Balochistan were being denied the kind of constitutional reforms the rest of India was getting. In the NWFP, the British were actively cracking down on political life because of strong local resistance. And in Balochistan, it was kept outside the normal political system because of some special old treaties. Jinnah said this had to stop. He demanded full constitutional reforms and for them to be treated just like any other province. So why was he so focused on these frontier regions? Well, it was a numbers game, pure and simple. Both NWFP and Balochistan were overwhelmingly Muslim-majority areas. By demanding they get full provincial status and political rights, Jinnah knew what would happen. The Muslim League would almost certainly be the ones to form the government in both places. And just like that, boom, 2 more provinces in his corner, which would have massively strengthened the League's bargaining power across all of India. So when you put these first 4 points together, the grand vision just clicks into place. This wasn't just some random wish list. It was a coherent blueprint for a fundamentally different kind of India, a highly decentralized federation. In Jinnah's vision, the central government would be pretty weak, and the real power, the meaningful power, would belong to these strong, autonomous provinces where the Muslim League could secure its own political future. And that leaves us with a really critical question, one that historians still debate. Was this entire strategy for provincial power just a defensive move, a kind of constitutional shield to protect the rights and culture of a minority community inside a united India? Or were these demands, by creating these powerful and separate Muslim political blocs, an unintentional or maybe even intentional first step down the long road to partition? That is definitely something to think about.